Good morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are. For me, it is 8 o'clock in the morning, California time on a, God, I don't even know what today is. I don't, we're in this COVID time where it's on same day. It's not Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It just feels like it's the same day all the time. And I am here with Jean Bonaduci to have a beautiful conversation with a stranger. I don't know Jean from Adam. We met literally 10 seconds ago in the green room when I just sort of said to her the idea of what we're going to do in this show. But she was kind enough to respond to a post on Facebook that I made that said, I'm looking to have 50 conversations with 50 strangers. And here she is. And so we're about to have this conversation, sight unseen. What I love about this is that I really believe in the world today that is the media so often wants to put us into different camps and wants to tell us in those different camps who we should like and who we shouldn't like. And it's not only the media. I think we're targeted from other places, to vote a certain way, to do a certain thing. And what I'm finding in these conversations with people is we're just people. And even though we may agree on points of view, we may disagree on points of view, but I wonder sometimes, like a mosaic. I wrote a book called The Mosaic, and this is not what I spoke about, but the image of a mosaic is so beautiful in that sometimes the connection is only just point. Sometimes pieces just connect from one point to the other. They don't connect face to face like this. They're just a little tiny connection that they have. And I wonder why life isn't like that. Why we can't sort of see, in general, where do we connect with somebody rather than where are we different? So the idea for me of this conversation is to just get to meet people who I would never meet before. And social media makes that so possible and so alive. I was going to go out on the road and do this on the road, and then Mr. COVID came and told me, ha 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 ha. And so here I am. I'm sitting here now. I don't want to make this a monologue. I have Jean Bonaduci sitting here right with me. And so, Jean, welcome to 50 Conversations with 50 Strangers. How are you today?
I'm doing great. It's nice to meet you in person.
It is such a
Sort of.
pleasure. It is such a pleasure. So let me ask you, because
I feel
we ha-
silly.
why do you feel silly?
I don't know. We're just getting giddy.
Okay.
I just never did anything. It's fun. It's fun. It's exciting.
Yeah, it's sort of it's interesting when we get out of our box. So if you never did anything like this, why did you respond to this? Like what made you say I'd like to do this?
Well, I like you. I followed you on and off for a while, and I thought, why not? I
I
mean,
see.
what's the worst that can happen? I can press the button and walk away. So what am I so afraid of? And I agree with everything you talked about. It's the connection. It's that conversation. And so many times you're afraid to meet new people, and I do. And I think, oh, they probably won't like me if I tell them like I was married 3 times or so. And then I find out, well, I was too. We have a lot in common that you
Yeah.
don't realize. And I totally agree. We need to find out what we have more in common,
Yeah.
because there's a lot, and we're all afraid, and we're all a little insecure, I guess. So I want to be more open to this, because I who knows what I'm going to do next. I'm retired now, and I'm a little excited. So
I
this is
I
my new beginning. You're my new beginning here.
drum roll, drum roll. Everybody get behind it. This is our new beginning. So, so one of the things that's been really cool in this is that I interviewed somebody who, um, and while I was talking to her, one of the things that I realized is there are stranger things that have happened than meeting a stranger, having a conversation with a stranger, having that conversation in front of other strangers, and having those strangers reach out to help somebody they feel drawn to in a conversation. So for those of you who are listening, Jean is retired. She's sort of ready to go forward into her next step, whatever that might be. And if you have something that might be possible, reach out to her, because who knows what can happen as a result of this. If you like the feeling that you get, if you like the conversation, if you like who she is, if you need something done, you guys might be able to grow and prosper each other in what you're doing. Why not, right?
Right.
So let me circle around, because so often we ask, how are you? And we all go, fine, great, perfect, and we move on to the next question, right? But we are in a time now that is so overwhelming in some ways. We're living through a pandemic that is worldwide. We are involved in reevaluating what we believe around the color of a person's skin. It wasn't too long ago that the big conversation was what we believe as men towards women and what rights women have. I mean,
Hmm.
it's been a wild 3-year ride, right? With the Me Too movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, the pandemic. Um, how are you really doing in all this?
Um, I like change. I don't like always how it goes about, but I believe in the women's rights. I believe so. It sort of has to happen, but with the not being able to see my mom in a nursing home, and
Yeah,
I had to cancel vacation to see my daughter. Like, I cry a lot. I cry. It's a grieving. It's a time of grieving. It's a time of grieving how it was and how it is now. But it's also acceptance in some of it. I have to accept that this is how it is right now. And then with that, I do different things and I have different conversations and I'm meeting new people. So I like that. So how can I not like what's happening if I sort of like what's happening? So it's one of those, I feel everything happening at one time, the good, the bad, the ugly. It's just really a weird time, but I'm going to embrace it. Even though, like I said, I have my lows.
yeah,
It
yeah,
depends who you talk to. You can get down deep. I'm going to be around positive people. So you're like a positive person. I mean, so this is what I want to do. I want to stay away from, I don't mind having a conversation, but I don't want to get down into something that I don't believe in. Or
yeah.
I can only change what I can change, and it starts with me. And I think that's where it's starting. you
I
know?
love that. One of the things that's happened to me over the course of time is I realized that I had this sort of realization that if I could walk into a room and the people in that room could make me feel happy or unhappy, or could make me feel afraid or included, then I wondered what impact could I have when I walk into a room, instead of being completely affected by the room that I walk in. Would it be possible for my energy, my being, to walk into a room and affect the room, to lift the room up? And I had reason to believe that that's possible, because sometimes you'll be in a room full of people, and sometimes you'll see the most beautiful person walk in, male or female, right? And you'll watch how people are give attention to them, and you see how people flock to them because they want to be with them. And sometimes their beauty is not only external, but it's internal. But sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's external. And you watch this thing happen where people flock to them, and these beautiful people are so ugly inside that people can't stand to be with them more than a second. And I've watched the same exact thing happen with people that are awkward or strange or different or not so beautiful, where they'll walk into a room and people won't immediately feel drawn to them, but something about them, something about the feeling around them, people start to flock to them, and they won't leave. They want more and more and more and more. And so, do you think that's possible, that you can not only be affected by the world around you, but that you can affect the world around you?
Yes. I'm believing in that more and more because, you always had doubt about it, but especially now because I do hear a lot. Like people like my energy. I'm pretty upbeat and positive. I'm like I've been called fireball. And sometimes I'm shy to walk in a room. I was even at a gathering last night that I didn't really know everybody, and I was a little nervous to walk in. Some of my closer friends weren't there, but I just, I had a great time. I had a
That's
great time, and I was asked to dance with someone because they know I love to dance. Like, let's start it. So that makes me feel good because I think too it comes from inside, and it's just letting that out, I guess,
uh,
but I agree. You walk in a room and I want to have that energy to change it. It is true.
yeah. So we don't really know who you are, and I don't normally when I do a podcast, I sit and I have a whole introduction. But the beauty of this is that I don't do that. You could have been Jean. It could have been a man. It could have been a woman. It could have been right. I don't know where you're from, what part of the world you live in. Why don't you take a minute and just tell us who you are and where you're from and what's important to you?
Well, my name's Jean Bonaduci. I'm from York, Pennsylvania. And, I just retired, and I'm pretty happy. I'm happy where I am in life. I'm ready for the next chapter, but I'm ready for change. If I want to do something different, I got to start doing different things. So I got to be around different people. So I'm sort of ready for all that. I don't want to have that ho-hum life. And I want to be change in the world. I want to be that person.
Yeah.
I do. So, and I know it comes from inside, and
So when you
so here we are.
I love it. I love it. And that's why you signed up to be here with us. So.
I know, it's just big, and I almost didn't do it. And I thought, how crazy is that? Because I look at you, look at me. but there's, but it feels good. I like what you're saying, and we're not really that different. I don't know why I'm afraid of that.
Yeah.
But
I love that you had the courage to do it. I love that you thought not to do it. I love that fear came in the way. I love that fear almost came in the way. And then I love that you said, well, if it doesn't work, I can just push a button and end the call. It's not there's nothing. And so what makes you happy?
I just wake up sort of happy. I don't know. Just the morning, just waking up. I don't know. I'm just usually happy.
I love that. And so to people who don't wake up happy, what would you say to them? Because that's such a beautiful
Find a reason
statement.
to get up. I guess find something that, like, a thought. I think it starts with a thought, like find something you're grateful for. Think of, I think people always, and it happens all, we look for something big, and it's the little things.
Yeah.
It's, you have a house, you have eyes, you have, just start small, I think. Just maybe affirmations, just something to look at when you wake up and make you feel better. Like, I like sunshine. I don't know. I'm just happy.
Yeah. What I hear you saying, and just tell me if I'm wrong, because I don't want to put words in your mouth, is that you have sort of a frame of mind that you're so thankful for the things you have that you just wake up and that makes you happy, that you have a roof over your head, you have sunshine out the window, or you can walk outside and be in the sunlight. Seemingly simple things, but not simple things at all.
Exactly.
Right? Those are, and how often do we forget to see the things that we have because we're always thinking about why don't we have what we don't have? Does that make sense to you?
It does, and I think the older you get, you let go of that a little bit, because what am I running to, and what do I want more of? Sometimes, I have some goals, I have some things, but yeah, it's just like, stop.
Right.
Just
right.
enjoy, and have fun. That's my goal. Have fun.
I love what a beautiful thing. So as you go towards your transition now, because you retired, what did you used to do?
I worked for the post office. I delivered mail, which I loved. I love being out. There's a lot of that job I loved.
Wow.
Yeah.
And is there a set age that you have to retire, or did you just decide to retire?
I decided. I wanted to do something different.
Yeah.
And I put money back. It's not shabby. I'm not doing bad. So it's like, it's time. It took a while to get from that mindset, because I liked working. I had the mindset of work hard for a living, and I had to get out of that. So now I'm having fun for a living.
What a nice change. And what are you finding is the result of that shift of working hard working hard for a living versus having fun for a living? Because sometimes I think,
well, I did both, but I worked more than there was a thought. I'm trying to think what I thought. I think it's just, I got sort of tired. I got a little tired. Like, why am I doing this when I don't have to? I can do something different and slow down. But I didn't want to go to 8-hour days because I like the money.
right.
So it was sort of like, you had to give up something to go to the next place. So I had to give up that mind thought. It took a little while, but I waited till I knew, and I felt it. I waited till I felt it. Like one day during the summer, I'm like, you know what? I'm not working another winter at the post office. So like July, I made that. I did it by October 31st, and it was just like that.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know. I think about things for a long, 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 long time and talk about them. And then all of a sudden I wait till I feel it.
Yeah.
And I felt it was time. It was just time.
I love that pivot point of when you think about it, think about it, and think about it, and then feel it.
Right.
What happens when you actually shift from thinking about it to feeling it? What can you describe that moment?
It's it's like a knowing, like you feel like I'm making the right decision. I don't have to keep thinking about it anymore. I'm making the right decision. I'm going through with it. No matter what, I'm going through with it and see what happens. The worst that can happen, I get another job.
Yeah.
Or, so, and what's wrong with that? Something different. I have money coming in. This is good.
Yeah, totally.
So it wasn't an easy shift, but once I made a decision, I'm going straight forward.
Does it happen in a certain part of your body? Do you when you're thinking
Oh,
about it, is that in your mind and your head? And when you
it
just know, is it in a different part or in the same part?
well, sometimes it's in my solar plexus. Like I felt a lot in my gut. So
Yeah,
when that feels pretty comfortable,
yeah,
I don't think it, I have to feel it.
yeah. I
I make a
love
lot
that.
of decisions by how it feels, I guess.
And
And financially, it was okay. It wasn't like, I talked to people. It wasn't like I just did it on a whim. I made talk to a financial advisor. I figured out some things, that kind of stuff.
love it, love it.
But I like going on a whim a little bit too.
Totally. So if you were to close your eyes now, you don't have to close your eyes, but if you were to imagine closing your eyes and thinking about how you would like to spend the rest of your days, what would that look like? Like, what is that change that you're inviting into you right now?
I love to dance. I don't know, music, dancing. Maybe I do want to give back somehow. Maybe humanitarian work or helping people, or helping people feel better about themselves,
Love it.
helping that to feel better and just enjoy life a little more, I think. And you know what I
Love
mean? Because I went through a lot, and you don't always like yourself. I guess everybody does that, but I think we're always who we are. We just got to bring it out. I think to help people bring that out, you know.
Yeah, I love it. Let's go into a lightning round if we can. Okay,
Okay.
I'm going to ask you a few questions. You don't have to be, you can answer them however you want, but the idea is like, I answer
Quick.
you, right? Um, are you a dog person or a cat person?
I have a cat.
Okay. Are you coffee person or tea person?
Both.
Okay. Would you say you're in the box or out of the box?
Out of the box.
Fabulous. Do you believe it's more that it's what do you believe is more necessary in the world right now? For you to be able to speak your truth and be heard, or for you to create a platform for other people to be able to speak their truth and you to be able to listen
Ooh,
to them?
wow. I don't know. I think both.
Okay.
I want to be
Tell-
heard. I'm ready to be heard, but I'd like to allow someone else to too.
Okay. What out of lightning round for a minute. If you want to be heard, what is it you want to say to people? What would you like to say right now to a world that is listening to you? Because that's the whole goal of this conversation is to
It's going
get
to be okay. We're going to get through this. We're going to go on to something different, but it can be better. And I think now's the time to make it better. Like listen, like you said, listen more to each other. Find out what we have more in common, and let's start there. I really have a heart for the homeless and the poor. Like it's time to start looking at everybody, everything. Let's change it all now. Like I think we have enough money in the world to feed everybody and find a place, you know. And I'm not saying we have to go through the government and politics. I think another thing we're all doing right now is helping each other. People are stepping up, and helping people all over the world that we don't even know.
yeah,
And I love that. I love hearing stories about that.
yeah.
So I don't know where I'm going to fall in, but I'd like to fall in a place where I'm helping that, bring that up and helping each other. So I don't know what it's going to look like yet, but yeah.
I love that we have never talked before and how similar we feel. And
I,
one of my dreams is to really create a movement that is called I'm calling it the Mosaic Swarm. in which, if you look at the way animals operate in the world, some that don't have the ability to make uh, really decisions that on their own that are important for their life. You look at the ways bees build the hive as they send thousands of bees out, and then they come back into their swarm, and they just sort of vibrate together, and they move if they feel consciously like they should build it in a certain direction. They actively are pushing towards that direction, but they're in a swarm and they all move together, and they move with each other and against each other until there's no opposition. And when they get to a place where there's no opposition, they move towards that direction, and that's where they build their hive. If you look at the way birds fly in the air, it looks like there's a leader, but there's no leader because they move so quickly and so synchronistically together that there's the collective mind that they become a part of. And they're moving as one mind, moving together through the air. Same with fish in the water, same exact thing. And so I interviewed for my podcast a man who has created a something called swarm intelligence, and he found a way to get the human mind, who normally thinks very vertically, where we teach people, we fix people, we help people, we change people. And he said, what if we didn't have to do that? What if collectively together, all we have to do is come together and listen to each other, and join a collective mind and let that mind guide us towards it? And to me, that's what the image of the mosaic is. No piece is bigger or taller or helps or teaches another. So what would happen? My dream was to bring people together, to have them join this mosaic swarm, to have it be $1 a month to be a member of it. And if they couldn't afford it, we would find people who could afford to sponsor them. And there'd be countries in that $1 a month is just like $1 billion. They could never do that. But there's some people that could afford to do $10 a month or $3 a month and sponsor some of our brothers and sisters who couldn't, to bring them into these virtual rooms, to ask them, what problems would you like to solve? Do you want to solve global warming? Do you want to solve homelessness? Do you want to solve uh, hunger? What do you want to solve? And then ask them how they would go about do it, and bring them into this virtual room where together they would decide to do it. And they would decide how to do it. And with $1 a month, the goal is to get to 1 billion members. We would have $1 billion a month to invest in the decisions that we as a people made, that we wouldn't have to go to government, we wouldn't have to go to charities, we wouldn't have to go anywhere else, that we together would decide the issues we want to work on, how we want to do it, and we would fund it. And we might get it wrong for a few months. We might throw away billions of dollars, but all you'll have thrown away and all I'll have thrown away is $1 a month. Right. And to me, that would be worth the investment. So if you're interested in that under separate cover, let's have a conversation and we can do that. But there are things like that that are happening that are really cool in the world today, and it's great to be involved in them. Back to lightning round, okay?
Okay.
Do you feel you fit into the world, or do you feel you're different?
I'm different. Different.
Do you operate from your head or from your heart?
I'm trying to get more from my heart.
Okay. Would you say you're a leader or a follower?
I was a follower. I wouldn't mind being a leader.
Okay. So when I asked that question originally, so many people say I want to be a leader, or I am a leader. I want to now clarify that a little bit, or put it into a certain context. When we look at the world we live in, we are segued into silos of like-minded communities, whether we're Democrats or Republicans, whether we're for abortion or against abortion. We have our belief systems. What do you have the courage within your belief system, if you find somebody doing something that you don't respect, or even though you believe in the cause of what they're doing, the way they're doing it, it doesn't feel right to you? Do you have the courage to be a leader and stand up to the whole collective of like-minded people and say, this something here isn't right? Like, look at what, for instance, let's use politics. Just, there's so many things that people who believe in Trump feel he's doing great. And then people who don't believe in him feel like there's certain ways that he's doing it that aren't great. There's certain things that the Democrats believe that Trump is not good and they're trying to take him down. But there's certain things he's actually done that have really helped the country in some ways too. But nobody seems to be able, and these are our leaders. Very few people seem to be able to stand up to their group and say, this just isn't right. I mean, I'm with you in cause, but this just isn't right. Do you have the courage to be that type of person?
I'm doing it more, yes. But you feel like there's not many that have enough guts. But sometimes I stay out of some because some things you're just not they're not gonna listen.
Yeah. So what would you say if you knew people would listen right now? What would you
Not
say?
here, listen to me or listen.
Yeah. What would you say
it's
if you?
scary sometimes because I'm not always right. But I have to admit, like, because we're having this conversation, I was out the other night and I met, like, it was somebody my age, a guy and a younger guy, and we were talking, and all of a sudden, like, wow, I never had this happen. We're all agreeing. Like, it was like astrology. It was like the energy of the world. It was like, and I'm like, this is unreal. It's happening.
Yeah.
So, and if they didn't agree, I like to say if there's another way and I believe in it, yes. I think there's a gentler way. I think there's an easier way.
Yeah.
And like stuffing things, I don't want to stuff my beliefs down someone's throat either, but I don't want someone to do that to me. Like maybe at least listen to talk about it.
Yeah.
But many conversations I got to walk away from or just stop because it's not going nowhere.
Yeah.
It's not going nowhere.
Why do you think we have conversations or people find themselves or need to stuff something down somebody's throat? Like,
I think you feel important. I don't know.
Yeah. It's so interesting to me because I've had the opportunity through my life to be with some of the richest people in the world, to be at their dining room tables or in their living rooms, to sit with their children and their parents, and to just, I've been honored that they've asked my counsel on some things, and I've been honored to receive their counsel on some things. And it feels so good to just be able to sit with people who are influential people and to be able to share that. And it's been such a beautiful, beautiful honor to also sit on street corners with some of the poorest of the poor.
Mm-hmm.
And to do exactly the same thing. And I've been honored that sometimes they've asked my counsel on some things, and I've been honored to listen to their counsel on some things. And one of the things that I've seen, no matter how rich a person is or how poor a person is, no matter what color their skin or what religion they practice, no matter what border they live behind or what their philosophy is, everybody wants the same thing. They just want to be listened to and heard. They want to be loved and accepted. And they want to be acknowledged for what they've said and validated. Nobody in the course of my 65 years has ever said to me, Danny, it's important you agree with me. I want you to agree with me.
That's right.
Right. And so when we can love and accept another person and really listen to them and hear them, and they know they feel heard, and acknowledge and validate that that's what they feel. And I say to people, boy, I can never believe that, but I certainly respect you for believing that. Nobody's ever had a fight with me on that. Why do you think it's so important for us to have people agree with us?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know if everybody has to agree, but it's nice. It's nice to hear what people think, I guess.
Yeah.
And then maybe you don't have to agree on that, but there's got to be something that you feel good about if you want to spend a lot of time with that person.
Yes.
Maybe, but if there's people that I'm not close to or people that I might not see that often, it's not worth having the conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if somebody I care about, like me and my family, we don't think alike at all, and mouth off everything and we'll just laugh about it later on. But sometimes it gets a little, because I'm different than my whole family.
Yeah.
I think different than my whole family, but we're
Yeah.
all very close. And
Yeah.
sometimes it gets a little heated and they say, Jean, calm down. But, because it's all them against me. But,
Yeah.
but I just accept it because of my family and we love each other.
Yeah. And
But
I think that's so key to what you said. For people listening, I think what Jean just said is so valuable and so important, because when our relationship is based on the love of
hmm.
just each other, well, like we do that with our families. We may not agree with them, but we love them. They're family. We would take a bullet for our family, most of us, right? Because there's just something about what we feel for each other, or we would do that for our friends. But when we don't know each other or take the time to sit with each other and actually have any idea of who people are outside of their beliefs, it's so easy to just stand on street corners and yell at each other. But once we get to know the person as a human being, we don't, it's not that important that they believe differently than us on this point. We might disagree with them, we might agree with them, but we let each other coexist.
So you're saying like, and I believe this triggers, but that can happen with people that you don't agree with,
I,
right?
I
So yeah.
what I'm seeing through these conversations, what I'm seeing through my book, The Mosaic, is when you take time to sit with somebody that you have a preconceived notion. In my book, The Mosaic, I told you in the green room, but I'll say it here for people who weren't in the green room with us. It's a story about a boy who loses his parents 2 years apart on the same day. And when he asks the adults where his parents are, they tell him they're in a place called heaven. So he sets out on the road to find the place called heaven, and he thinks he's going to meet spiritual people, rabbis, ministers, priests, shamans, swamis, gurus, whoever he's going to meet. He thinks he's going to meet people that will introduce him to the place called heaven. But instead, he meets the trash man and the homeless guy and the blind woman and the road worker, just common, ordinary people. And he wonders, why am I meeting these people? Like, what can they teach me about heaven? And he hears this voice: just sit with them and listen to them. Just be with them for a little while and listen to what they say. And in every single case, when he does that, the person he thought he had seen originally is not at all the person he's with now. Now that he's gotten to know them, he's connected to them and he feels something and they feel him. And so all those superficial differences fall apart and they go away because now they have a sense of who each other are. In these conversations that I'm having with 50 strangers, I feel such a deep connection with most of the people that I talk to. And it's really I almost want to call it 50 conversations with 50 strangers who will become 50 close friends, because it doesn't take that long. It takes half an hour, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour of just sitting with each other and having a conversation and just feeling mutually loved and respected. And if we could just, part of my dream of these conversations is that these conversations will start up around the world, that it won't only be me doing 50 conversations. There'll be other people doing 50 conversations. There'll be thousands of us doing conversations with people we never met. And what would happen for us? I'm
I
talking
think
more.
that's the key. That's the key to change.
Yeah.
Listening and having the conversations. I agree. I totally agree with that. And I noticed in the last couple of years, my perspective has changed. And you always think everybody else is changing, but it's just you. But
Yeah.
and it keeps getting, and I feel like you opened me up to a little bit like maybe staying with an uncomfortable conversation a little more. And
Yeah.
maybe there'll be something that comes up that helps me change the perspective about somebody that they're not going to listen, or and that's big. That's big. What I'm sort of learning, and right now, it's like I got little chills from
Wow.
that. Like, yeah, like
I want to share something with you that I share a lot, but I haven't shared them in these conversations before. I have the gift of, my daughter is the person that I love more than anybody else in the world. We just have such a tight connection, and I've sat with some of the greatest teachers in the world, and I've learned from them, and they've been kind enough to uh, take me and under their wings and help me to become a person that I wanted to become. And of all the people that I've sat with, my daughter is the one that's impacted me the most.
mm,
My daughter is developmentally delayed. And I never thought in a million years I would be able to raise a developmentally delayed daughter on my own. When she was 8 years old, my wife passed away of cancer. And so I've had to raise her pretty much on my own. And I'm a guy, and I never thought that I would be able to do this. And there were times where I just didn't know what to do because it was so hard. And what happened is somewhere along the line, she's not able to communicate like you and I communicate. So when she speaks, nobody understands her. But because I'm with her most of the time, she counts on me to understand her. And most of the time I do. Like so many times people don't understand her and I get exactly what she's saying. And we're not talking about the philosophy of Socrates and Descartes. We're talking about just what she needs in the moment. And yet sometimes I don't. And when I don't understand her, then what she'll do is she'll say it louder, thinking that it's the volume, but it isn't really the volume. I can't understand the clarity of her words. And when she says it louder and I don't get it, she'll throw a tantrum. And that can be in the middle of a store. It can be in a restaurant. It can be while we're walking down the street and people look at me like, what the hell is going on? What are you doing to that girl? And when I still don't get it, she'll come and run at me and try and rip my shirt or bite me. And this happened over the course of about 15 years. Not every day, but sometimes on the days that it happened, 3, 4, 10 times a day. And finally, I just looked at her and I said, Elisa, I love you so much. And I want so badly to understand what you're saying. I just don't understand your words. Would you be kind enough to just tell me without your words what you're trying to say? Find a way to do that. And to my surprise, she just went from rage to this big smile that melted my heart.
Oh.
And in perfect English, she said, I am daddy. And I said, what the heck are you talking about? I am daddy. How are you doing that? And she took her finger and pointed to the side of her head. And I understood from that because she couldn't speak. Her sense of telepathy was stronger.
Oh, wow.
She was able to put thoughts into my head. And I thought that was happening along the way, but I just didn't trust that was happening. Why would I trust that's happening? I didn't even know if she was capable of thinking, but these thoughts that she was putting into my head were brilliant thoughts sometimes.
Oh my gosh.
And so I said, you little son of a gun, are you putting thoughts in my head? and she did exactly what you did, but with the freedom from that tension of now knowing that somebody understood the way she was communicating. And her laugh became contagious and we were laughing for 15 minutes, 10 minutes,
Oh my
5.
gosh.
And both of us, as soon as the other would stop, the other one we would still be laughing, and we would cause the other one to continue laughing. From that moment on, do you know, she's never yelled, she's never tantrumed, she's never
Oh,
attacked.
wow.
And Jean, if the story ended there, it would be beautiful enough. But what I realized is that what my daughter does is what everybody I know does, whether they be the CEO of a company or the employee of a company, whether they be a student in a school or a teacher in the school, whether they be a government official or people in their parliament. And I work with these people. And I watch the same thing happen. When they speak and they don't get heard, they yell.
I do, yes.
When they yell and they don't get heard, they try and create chaos. They create a scene where they try and disrupt the way things are going and make it almost impossible for the company or people or family to operate. And when that still doesn't work, they try and attack. So they can blow up a building, they can shoot people in a town square, they can end a marriage, they can try and destroy the reputation of a person, they can try and bring down a company. And I realized that what my daughter taught me is the antidote to all that. Because if we just were to listen, nobody would have to yell, scream, tantrum, or attack. And I started to take that into business boardrooms and into families and into government workshops that I would do. And I couldn't believe that all of this came from my developmentally delayed daughter. So in those situations where people are yelling so much and screaming so much and wanting us and are not open to other people's beliefs, I think it's just because maybe they haven't been heard. What do you think? Do you think that could be possible?
No, it makes sense, total sense. And a lot of times when people are, it's what's going inside them. They're not happy with themselves, or like you said, they feel like no one listens. I don't know. It starts somewhere inside.
I love that.
Yeah. It makes sense.
You're an easy person to talk to because I wasn't going to talk, and here I'm talking a lot. But we didn't even get. Let me ask you the final question of the lightning round. Do you think people are more different from each other or more the same as each other?
I think more the same.
Yeah, yeah,
Because when I do have the conversation with people, like I said, it's, I think we all want to be noticed, we all want to be liked, we all have insecurities. So I think when you get that thought out of your head and just start talking, it changes a lot. Like there were people on my route, I might have misdelivered a piece of mail. One lady ran down the street when I, with her check, but you know what? I was calm, and we ended up being friends. So
yeah,
you just don't know.
yeah.
But yeah, I think we're more alike.
Um, so you talked about the important. You wanted to have your voice heard, but you also thought how important it was to listen. Do you believe things other than people speak? In other words, do you think your body is speaking to you? Do you
Yes,
think the
yes,
environment's speaking to you?
yes,
Do you think the
yes.
world's speaking? So, if you were to take a minute, what do you think the world is trying to say to us as a as a as a world right now? And what do you think it's trying to say to you individually? So first, what do you think it's saying to us in general?
It needs healed. It's been battered. We've been mean. I think the '70s we tried, and I think yeah,
Yeah,
we need to heal, and I think it's just a big healing and accepting that we need to change some things, environment, everything. But it starts individually, and it's a little overwhelming to want to help everywhere. So I have, but I think it's a big cleansing. We need to cleanse, and it starts with us.
yeah,
But it's so big. Look what happened. It's sort of sad.
yeah. It's and so following my daughter's example of speak, yell, tantrum,
Yeah,
attack. I mean, it sort of makes sense in some ways,
right.
right? I mean, it tried to speak to us, we didn't hear. It tried to yell at us, we don't hear. Now we're in the chaos stage, and we're in the destruction phase if
Exactly.
we don't follow it. What do you think the world is saying to you right now? Like, what do you think if you were to listen? What's the message the world wants to say to you?
Like, I don't know. I feel like love yourself. Just love and send that out. Like I think we just don't love ourselves. And I think we were sort of told, like, don't, I was brought up Catholic, pray for yourself, always pray. And I think that's good, but I think it starts with your healing, you taking care of yourself, and then going out and helping people. So it's just sort of like bring love back. And it's in here. You're not going to find it out there. It's like you start here and then it comes to you sort of.
Yeah,
I think I was starting to feel like the more I just be that, not, I don't know, I put something on Facebook about that, like just, you are the sunshine. It just makes you that. Like I'm not looking for love anymore. I just want to be that.
love it.
It wasn't always easy. It's not always easy, but I think that we need hugged, we need healed. I think the whole world does, even the earth. It's like we abused enough,
Yeah,
it doesn't work. Like you said, you think it's going to work. Like when you're young and the parents yell at you, and sure it works, but it hurts too. Some things aren't healed from even
yeah,
when you were a kid
yeah,
because they thought that worked. It doesn't. Listening, because how many times when I was a kid, no one listens to me. That was my big thing.
yeah, yeah,
So I think that's why I have to be heard first. And
yeah.
now if I'm heard more, then I think it'll be, I want to help other people be heard, I guess.
I
So
love
that
that.
makes sense. That makes sense.
So one last time on a swing through as we close this beautiful conversation down, which I want to thank you so much for being so open, being so vulnerable, being so real with me. Um, what's one thing you would like to say to the world that might help shift it from the place it's in to the place where you might be happy to leave it behind? Not give it up and leave it behind, but in other words, if I ask people, is this the world that they always dreamed of giving over to their children and their children's children? And if it's not, what would you be willing to do now yourself, starting today, and what would you recommend other people do now that might change the momentum of the way the world's going a little bit to make it a world that you would be willing to hand over to your kids?
just be kind, be more open, be kind. Like I miss hugging and kissing and just, my whole family. Like, we can't hug my mom. Like, I think she's probably, it doesn't feel good to not be able to do that. Like, I'm all
Yeah.
about that. I'm a touchy, huggy Philly, and like, and now they're acting like we shouldn't do that. So I think, so if you can't do that, I think just be kind and do good. Do what you want to be done to you, I guess,
Yeah.
but be kind is big, big.
I don't think there's a better place to end this conversation right now, or to close down this conversation, not end. I hope this is the beginning of more conversations with you, because I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Me
Um,
too. I feel very blessed
Me too.
to have a conversation with you, and I don't even how it came about. Like, this blows me away a little bit. So I have to be changing. So you know what I mean? Like, I would have never thought this would ever happen. Like when I first listened to you or something. It's just amazing.
Well, it's completely my honor, and I thank you for being here with me. My life is made richer, and for those people who are listening, listen to this conversation. And if you just hear the final thing that Jean said, if you do nothing else, if there's nothing else that makes sense to you, and I'm sure there's a lot that will make sense to you, but if nothing else makes sense to you, why not just practice this simple practice of just be kind? I don't think we can say anymore. Jean, I want to thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Thank
I,
you. I'm
I
honored.
want I want to thank those of you who've come to listen. Share this conversation with other people. I think it will help them. Share this conversation with your own mind. And until the next conversation, I want to just thank you all for making a world that is more beautiful for me to live in than the one that I knew prior. Thank you again, and until later.
Thank you too.
Don't be too strange. Okay.